There is a moment most people have had at least once. Someone plays back a recording, maybe a voicemail you left, or a video from a birthday dinner, or the first time you heard yourself on a phone call someone put on speaker, and the sound that comes out of the device stops you. That voice, the one everyone else has been hearing your whole life, does not sound like you. It sounds flatter, or thinner, or older, or stranger than anything you would have predicted. And the feeling that follows is oddly unsettling, not quite embarrassing, not quite alarming, just deeply, quietly wrong. You might have laughed it off. Most people do. But underneath the laugh, something small and genuine happened. A little gap opened up between who you thought you were and the evidence in front of you. And that gap, that small moment of dissonance, is what this episode is really about. The pattern here is sometimes called voice-hearing mismatch, and it sits at a fascinating intersection of physics, perception, and identity. Because the reason your recorded voice sounds wrong is not that the recording is broken. It is that the voice you have always heard yourself speak with is not the voice other people hear. You have been living with a private version of yourself that exists only inside your own head, and the recording is simply showing you the public one for the first time. Here is what is actually happening, explained plainly. When you speak, sound travels two ways to your ears. The first way is the same way all sound reaches you from the outside world, through the air, in waves, entering the ear canal. But the second way is internal. The vibrations from your vocal cords travel through the bones and tissues of your skull directly to your cochlea, the hearing organ. Bone conduction is the name for this. And bone-conducted sound transmits lower frequencies more efficiently than air does. So the voice you hear from the inside carries more bass, more resonance, more warmth than what actually leaves your mouth. Your inner voice is literally richer, deeper, and fuller than your outer one. The recording captures only the air-conducted sound, the version everyone else hears, which is why listening to a recording can feel like meeting a stranger who has your name. This is not vanity. It is not insecurity, though it can activate both of those things. It is something more fundamental. It is a collision between two realities, the self as experienced and the self as perceived. And human beings, as a general pattern, have a very strong relationship with the experienced self, the one we live from the inside. Psychologists have written for decades about the concept of self-concept, the mental image we hold of who we are. That image is built from everything: memory, feeling, feedback from others, and the accumulated sense of our own inner life. The voice we hear ourselves speak with every day is woven into that self-concept in ways we rarely stop to examine. It is part of how we sound to ourselves when we read silently, how we narrate our own thoughts, how we imagine we come across in conversations. So when the recording plays and that familiar internal voice is simply not there, something deeper than sound is disturbed. The self-concept gets a small, unexpected jolt, and that jolt tends to feel more uncomfortable than the physics alone would explain. People who feel strongly connected to a particular self-image often find the recorded voice especially jarring, not because they are more vain, but because they have a richer, more developed inner sense of self. The gap is bigger for them because the internal voice they carry is more vivid and more carefully constructed. For people who already carry some social anxiety, hearing a recorded voice can amplify the worry that they come across differently than intended. For people who have spent years building confidence as a speaker, the recording can feel like a betrayal. There is also a layer here about control. In everyday life, you experience your voice from the inside as you produce it. You feel the vibration in your chest. You sense the effort behind the words. You are the subject of the speaking. A recording strips all of that context away and makes you the object. You are suddenly listening to yourself the way a stranger would, with no access to the intention behind the words, no warmth from the inside. It is a fundamentally different experience, and the discomfort makes complete sense. What this tends to feel like in practice is a kind of low-grade self-consciousness that is hard to name. People often describe wanting to immediately leave the room when their voice comes on playback, or a cringing sensation that seems disproportionate to what the recording actually shows, or an almost protective instinct, a desire to explain to everyone in the room that they do not actually sound like that, even when, of course, they do. Even when the people in the room have never found that voice odd at all, because to them it has always just been the sound of you. There is something worth sitting with in that last part. The people in your life, the ones who love you, who have laughed with you, who have been moved by something you said or comforted by your presence, they have only ever heard the recorded version, the one you find so strange, and it has been enough, more than enough. The voice that sounds wrong to you is the voice that has always been yours to everyone else. So the gentle shift here is not about learning to love your recorded voice, though that can come with time. It is smaller than that. It is simply about noticing that the self you experience from the inside and the self other people encounter are always going to be slightly different things. That is not a flaw in either version. It is just the nature of being a person who both lives inside themselves and exists in the world. Both versions are real. Both are incomplete. Neither one is the whole truth. When the recording plays and the strangeness hits, it might be worth pausing instead of wincing, just for a moment, noticing what it brings up. Whether it is discomfort with being perceived, a worry about how you come across, a gap between the person you feel like and the person you seem to be. Those feelings have information in them, not about something being wrong with you, about something that matters to you. As with anything touching on self-perception, if these feelings go deeper than mild discomfort, if hearing your own voice or seeing yourself on video connects to something heavier, it is always worth talking to someone who can offer real personal support. What is offered here is general reflection, not a substitute for professional care. But for most people, most of the time, the recorded voice is just a small, humbling reminder that we are not entirely knowable, even to ourselves. That we carry a private version of our own existence that no one else can access, and that this is not a loneliness to mourn, but a kind of intimacy to appreciate. The voice in your head, richer and warmer and stranger than the one on tape, is the voice you have always lived with. It belongs to you in a way nothing external ever quite will. And maybe that is enough to sit with tonight. If any of this opens something up for you, there is a free reflection worksheet linked below. Just a few quiet questions to take this further on your own. And if this channel feels like the kind of place you want to return to, subscribing means you will find your way back here whenever you need it. Take care of yourself. Good night.